Hi, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Arsenal Fan Circle. Hope everybody is doing okay out there. And this is going to be a light podcast, take you away from the troubles of the world. And we're going to start out with a segment that Rohan actually suggested to me. So let's start out. No pressure, Rohan. Give us one of your Arsenal stories, be it funny, be it interesting.
Yeah, and first of all, to start off with how I started supporting Arsenal, because I mean, for a kid who's born in India, and has no connections to London, apart from the fact that I think one of my aunts used to stay in London, but apart from that, as every Indian does, right? Like they have some relative there. But apart from apart from that, I think just started watching the Premier League. My dad used to watch all sorts of sports. Just started watching, and then it was. I think I saw Blade. That was the Invincible season when I started watching, and the way Arsenal played, the dominance that they had, and then their jersey looked really good as well. And eventually, when I started like reading up a little more about it as weeks went on, it just almost seemed like it was the story of the underdog, which is weird to say because Arsenal and Manchester United were on top always, but amongst like between Manchester United and Arsenal being the underdog as such, and
Yeah.
how Wenger was playing and how he was standing up against Sir Alex. All of these were things that got me into Arsenal, and then I could over the years I couldn't really relate to the animosity that Arsenal fans have with Tottenham, because for me, and this should be a compliment to Arsenal, I
Yes.
never saw Tottenham as a rival.
Yes. I
The
thought you were going to
rivals that
go
I
that way. I thought you were going to go that
yeah,
way.
because the rivals that I saw were Manchester United, were Chelsea. Later it became Man City, but it was never Spurs, right? Spurs was just like something else. But a funny story or interesting one was happened when I was in Amsterdam one time. This was many years later, I think in like sometime in 2017, I think. I was in Amsterdam and we were playing this match. It was a cup match in which Welbeck scored a hat trick and he did that Salt Bay celebration, if you guys remember. So this match was against Southampton, and I just walked into a bar and it was this room. Unfortunately, it was full of Spurs supporters. And for some reason, they had that Arsenal match on. And I just ordered my beer and I sat there by myself. I didn't have any friends there, and they obviously started getting on my back, which team do you support, oh what are you doing here, something, and it became like super hostile. So I just like kept drinking my beer, and then the first goal went in, the second goal went in, the third goal went in, and then one of so clearly I wasn't like making any contact with them, but they kept commenting, and then a few minutes later, one of the girls from that group, she came up and she was like, why aren't you happy? Arsenal's winning here. And I said, well, that's because we win every week. So, so yeah, and I did that, and then I walked out. When the match was pretty much sealed. But that's when I understood what the animosity was, and that's when I thought that if that bar in Amsterdam, which is a neutral location, had that sort of a feel going into a North London derby, what it must be like. So yeah, that's one of my Arsenal stories, and relating to the animosity with Spurs.
Yeah. Just to tag on to what you're saying, and then I'll get into my interesting story. I first started watching Arsenal. And this is actually another story. I'll just add this in because as a kid, you don't want to go to bed. Your parents are making you go to bed all the time, and you want to get up. And the football was on. It was actually the Little Woods Cup semifinal. Stan might remember it. Tony or Tanner might remember it. It was the one where we beat them. We went to the final. Eventually, we would play Liverpool and win in that final. But that semi-final was a huge game against Tottenham, and yeah, that was when I started following Arsenal. Um, and I could have imagine if Tottenham had won that leg or something. I would have been a Tottenham fan probably.
We'd have to
Horrors
get
of all things.
That's the
And,
last time they'd make you happy.
That's the last time they would have made me happy. And we all know Stan told us last weekend the jersey being red, there's a connection to Nottingham Forest there. So we learned that last week from Stan. Thank you, Stan. But my story goes to the 88-89 season. We all know how it ended. And I'll bring you right up to that night. It was actually delayed because of the Hillsborough disaster. And the game was actually played on a Friday night. Well, we were winning that league. By January, it was like Liverpool against City right now. You could almost have given us the league in January. But little by little, that Liverpool team, it was a machine that season. John Barnes, all of those players. Who else was there? Aldridge was there, right? Houghton. Good team, the good Liverpool team. They clawed back on us all those points, and we actually started wobbling. We lost in the penultimate weekend against Derby County, and then we got the draw against Wimbledon, the 2-2 with Winterburn. But this is the last time I'd given up on Arsenal. I went to work that night, that Friday night, thinking that's it, it's over. Nobody goes to Anfield and wins by 2 clear goals, which is what we had to do. 2 clear goals. And I had friends across the street from me. I went to bed that night not knowing the results because you only had CFAX at that time or, teletext. I didn't want to know the result because I had 2 Liverpool supporters across the road from me. I hid in my room with the curtains closed, shut tight. And I didn't know until Sports Stadium was about noon on the Saturday that Arsenal have fucking won the league in dramatic circumstances with Michael Thomas scoring that goal. So I never saw that live, but I lived it. And I was hiding that morning, but ultimate satisfaction with Arsenal winning the league at Anfield, which how impossible was that to do at the time? And for many, many years, and I've only lost my faith probably in the last 10 years. Until then, I believed Arsenal could do anything. But right now, I can't really say that, put my hat on that, right? So that's my interesting, funny story. I've got another one to come a little bit later. But do any of the other 3 people here, Tanner, Stan, or Tony, want to get into that?
Well, I'll piggyback off you, Ray. But I have one question for you first. Do you know what the difference is between an Irish wedding and an Irish funeral?
No, I don't.
There's one less drunk at the Irish funeral. Told you it was going to be light.
That's good. I like
my
it.
Irish friend Tommy just sent me that in a text message, so figured we got an Irish guy hosting, so I got to get that in somehow. But anyway, I guess my interesting story to a degree is kind of the same as well, not quite the same as Ray's, but I remember watching the '89 final, and it was on a Saturday night here. It was on the ABC Wide World of Sports was when they showed it, and it was later. Like it was easily a month, if not longer, after they played. It was like May
29th, 28th, something like that.
It was the late 20s in May.
It was late. Yes.
They showed it here probably a month or so after that. I know it was late June when they showed it. But I was 10 and I was spending the night at my grandparents' house, and I just happened to turn it on. And the first thing that caught me, and everybody can laugh at me for this, but the thing that kind of like got me hooked in watching was just the accents of the commentators. And that was it. That's pretty much all it was. I was like, oh, this is great. I'm watching these English fellas. We whooped their ass about 200 years ago in a war. No, I'm kidding. But that was really kind of what got me started. I liked the jersey better than I liked Liverpool's. I know that, and which is weird because back then, and even to a degree now, Liverpool's a bit of a darker red than we are now. But at the time, I didn't, I had no idea, and I didn't know who was there. Carlsberg, was that there? I think that was their shirt sponsor.
Carlsberg, yeah.
It was Carlsberg, and Arsenal's was JVC, and I'm like, ooh, well, I know what JVC is. They make VCRs. So I was like, yeah, whatever, and I knew I was watching soccer. I'm like, yeah, all right, whatever. And understand that in 1989, soccer was not at all what it is today in this country. But I was watching the accent of the commentators was getting me, and just listening to them, I started to understand what it was that I was watching, and I realized that this was like I was watching soccer's Super Bowl to a degree. What I thought at the time was like, okay, this there's going to be a trophy handed out tonight. Somebody's winning a championship tonight. And I liked what Arsenal had in the shirt. I knew what JVC was. So and they were the underdog. And I just kind of gravitated that way. And the only reason that Michael Thomas will forever be in my top 3 favorite Arsenal players of all goddamn time.
Mickey Thomas.
Is because of that goal.
It's up for grabs now.
It's up for grabs now. And that was it, man. And I could meet Thierry Henry, could meet Dennis Bergkamp, could meet Robert Pires, which if I would have had the balls at the Armory back in May, I could have just gone up there and been like, hey, Bobby Pires, what's going down, man? But no, I tend to not.
Yeah, he would have just
actually walked.
Bobby walking his dog around.
I walked to the stadium with Martin Keown from the Holloway Road station. I just happened to be up that direction. I was getting some food and I was coming down, and I turned down what the hell is it? It doesn't matter. Whatever the road is, if you come out of Holloway Road, what is it?
Holloway Road, I was going to say.
No, that's the main road. But if you come out of the station, cross over Holloway Road, and then head down the street where you'll walk right into the stadium.
Is that Avenel Road?
It turns into Avenel Road. That's not Avenel, but it turns. It's unimportant. I'm walking down the way, and I see Martin Keown, and I'm like, Mr. Keown. I'm just not even thinking. I'm like, oh, Arsenal guys going to the stadium.
Yeah.
But no, he was doing it. Was
Did you really?
It was a Thursday night. It was.
Did you really say Mister?
Yeah, I called him Mr. Keown. I mean,
I met him as well, Stan. I did meet him as well.
He was. Right. I don't know what your story of him was, but so this kind of is nice. It led into maybe a semi-interesting Arsenal story, but I got to walk into the stadium, not into the stadium, but walk down the street with Martin Keown before a Europa League match. So he's a BT sport commentator, I believe. So that's what, and at the time I had no idea. I thought he was just going because he was an Arsenal guy, going to be like a guest of the club or something, but great dude. Like as soon as he realized, first thing he asked me, Stan, is why do you guys all think we're Canadian? Everybody in London thinks I'm Canadian. Why?
Because you like hockey.
I not even now. Like I don't even wear anything.
Aren't
hockey
you?
over there. Wait a minute.
Is that a Canadian flag behind you?
I'm not from Canada. It's pronounced Canada. Anyway, it's crazy. They're like, "Oh, you're from Canada." Like I don't say. I'm like, "Hey, can you get me a beer, eh?" I'm not a boat being from Canada. It's
not a boot.
He thought I was from Canada at first. I was like, no, I'm American and blah, blah, blah. He's like, oh, even better. Is it? I don't know. Okay.
You got a Maori uniform on.
No offense to our Canadian viewers. I don't think America's better than Canada. I love you guys. But
he was just covering up his mistake, Tanner.
I don't know. I don't care. Whatever.
Well, for me, he was Martin. So I said, hi, Martin. That's how you do it, Tanner.
I guess, man. I try to be. I don't know, man. I don't want to say I try to be a little more respectful, but
you don't faint.
What's that?
You don't faint.
No, not at all. I could meet Thierry Henry, Dennis Berg, all those guys and I'll tell you what, if I met Michael Thomas, I'd probably be more starstruck meeting him than anybody else. And it is solely because at that moment I became an Arsenal fan. Yeah. It started the seed was planted at that moment. There's more to this story, but I've taken up 8 minutes.
So you see, Tony, it's very important to get the right shirt sponsor. If you have JVC on your shirt, you're not going to be a Tottenham fan.
All I'll say about that is if Jägermeister is watching and you become a shirt sponsor of anyone, I'll immediately like that team.
You know, if we keep banging on that Jägermeister thing, they might hit us up with a year's supply. You know, we could. I said we weren't going to talk about this, Dan, but we could stockpile the Jägermeister.
It's the last thing on earth I need to stockpile.
Keep it in my freezer.
Yep, that's where it is. It's in the freezer, baby.
Tony, you got any stories for us?
Not
Did
really.
You do your homework?
Not really interesting story. Just how I got into Arsenal. I started watching them in the late '90s, but they weren't on TV very much. So I moved to Oklahoma City in 2001, and one of my buddies had Fox Soccer or whatever it was at the time. So all the games were on there. Then started watching them. Then my TV didn't have it, so I got hooked on them. Actually, playing FIFA all the time. I'd get Gilberto and steal the ball, pass it up to Perez, then a nice through shot to either Henry or Walcott, and 12 goals later, I'm up 15-2 or something like that.
With Walcott, you got 12 goals with Walcott.
No,
by the way, happy birthday to Theo.
Theo and Henry, both of them.
I want to know why. I want to know why Tony's given up 2 goals in FIFA. Are you kidding me? Come on, man.
And
today is in fact Bellerin's birthday.
Today's birthday is for Bellerin as well. Also,
oh.
Yeah. We're just stalling here so they can Stan can think of a good story now. I can see he's thinking.
I've got a couple.
I mean, you're a good South London boy. I got to think you got something up your sleeve.
I've got a couple.
Mm-hmm.
I'll tell you how I started supporting Arsenal. It was ages ago, right? I'm like 51 now, so this was going back to about 1978, 79. I'm living in South London, not North London. And it's quite funny because up until that point, I wasn't really, I hadn't really sort of like pledged my allegiance to any team. But I think it was maybe the Christmas before that, under the Christmas tree, I got a Chelsea kit for some reason. They just like an unasked for present, and it was like one of those horrible, like the thick wool materials, very itchy against the skin. I never wore it that much. But my mum and dad were divorced, and so I'd already done the stage now where my old man was coming down at weekends, and he was taking me. We've done all the usual stuff. We've done the planetarium, we've done the Imperial War Museum, we've done the Battersea Fun Fair. We're running out of things to do. So he decides that the following week he's going to take me to a football match. So my 2 nearest grounds, it was either a choice of Millwall or Crystal Palace. And if you can think back to the sort of the 70s, Millwall isn't the sort of place that our father would take his son, right?
It still isn't. I was waiting for you to say that. I'm like, I know it's not the place to take your son.
I was going to say the 80s, Tanner, but it still isn't.
No, man. Listen, Stan, real quick. I don't mean to jump in on your conversation.
No.
When I was over there, I don't know, when did I go to West Brom? I think I went up to West Brom in February. I caught West Brom play Sheffield United, but I put a thing out on Twitter, and Millwall happened to be playing that same weekend. And I said, should I go up to West Brom or should I go to Millwall? Everybody. It's like, unless you feel like getting drunk and fighting, go to West Brom. And I'm like, well, wait a minute now. I like to get drunk. I don't know about the fighting part, but
feels good.
But and then I started questioning Millwall, and what the hell's going on? What's with Millwall? And then I did some research and found out that, boy, you better have some stones to walk into the den, boy.
Well, their motto is "No one likes us, we don't care," and it's that for a reason.
Yeah. Can you imagine if this season actually finishes and West Ham get relegated? oh boy, because aren't they? Because that's like they're Millwall and West Ham or Arsenal and Tottenham.
Yeah.
I mean, but they don't like each other. I mean, I don't like Tottenham, but I'm not necessarily out at the bars trying to fight people. Like that's all they do. Is they like, let's go. I don't give a shit if my team wins. I just want to beat your ass. Anywho, Stan, by all means, please continue.
Thank you very much. So the old man, right, for the first fixture, he was quite clever. He's taken me to Crystal Palace. Right, he takes me to Crystal Palace v Newcastle. And obviously, you know, your father, he always wants his son to support his team. And my dad supports Newcastle. And as some of you will know, my great-grandfather, he played for Newcastle. And an interesting fact, my great-grandfather is still Newcastle's most decorated football player post-World War I, with 3 league titles, an FA Cup and an FA Cup final as well. So no one
likely to remain so as well.
Probably. Yeah.
Yeah,
probably.
Stan, that's awesome.
Sorry, Newcastle fans.
Yeah. So that's what his plan was, right? He wants me to follow in his footsteps. I'm living in London for a start. I mean, Newcastle's like miles away. But anyway, he takes me to Crystal Palace, and it's when it's all standing. And I could barely see the pitch. I've got like these hairy-ass blokes standing all around me. And this is back in the days when people literally had them rattles. You know, them rattles they used to rattle around. It was all of that. Some people had like big rosettes on, like the big like Crystal Palace rosettes. Could hardly see any of the game. And to be honest with you, I didn't really like it. You know, my mum and dad were divorced. I was a bit of a mummy's boy. There was all this shouting going on. I didn't really like it. I was glad to get home. So he drops me off and he says, you know, my mum says, oh, did you have a good time? And I look up at my mum and I look up at my dad and I'm like, yeah, I really liked it. And my dad goes, good, because we're going again next week. And I was just like, oh, no, you know.
Man.
Spent the whole week, you know, then I was, you know, he was going to come and pick me up again. And I really wasn't looking forward to it. So we went back now the following week, or was even the week after. It was either 2 weeks or the week after, but it was Crystal Palace v Arsenal. And I was on the side of the pitch where we were, and I could actually see what was going on now. So I started taking more of an interest. And there was just one guy, yellow jersey, number 7, socks around his ankles, running up and down the wing. And it was Liam Brady. And I just decided when I came home from that match, I don't know what it was. I don't know if it was like Liam Brady. I don't know if it was the yellow shirt. I don't know if it's because Arsenal's got a naughty word tucked away in there that I thought I could get away with saying. I just decided that was it. I was an Arsenal supporter, you know, and I have been, and I've been that way ever since. That's it for me.
Well, wait. What's the naughty word?
Arse.
Arse.
Now you got to remember, I was like 10 years old, right? So these are the things that I'm ticking off. Do you know what I mean?
It's funny to me because that's how you say, because we say ass. We don't say arse, we say ass.
Arse,
and so
yeah.
That's why it didn't compute with me. I'm like, what?
Yeah, it's even spelled the same way, right? So I mean, these are things I'm checking off. But my funny story is, I remember when I started going to Highbury when I was a bit older, and it was this is obviously before we had things like social media and phones with apps. You know, this is where you only got what was, you know, match of the day, bits at the end of the news, back page of the newspaper, and then Oracle and CFAX. And I started going to Arsenal Highbury, a bit older now. David Seaman was in goal for us. And I always used to sit in the same place. I always used to sit in the North Bank lower, but maybe around somewhere between 6 to 8 rows back behind the goal. So not far behind the goal. And up until that point, I don't think I'd ever heard David Seaman speak. You know, it's not like we are now where we watch interviews all the time, you know, and we hear snippets and we look for it in YouTube. Yeah. There wasn't a YouTube. I'd never really heard him speak before. And I just remember that. I can't remember the game, but we sat behind the goal and the opposition's player is bearing down on goal and he's taken a shot and he's, you know, David Seaman's gone to dive and it's gone wide and he sort of rolled over, stood up, turned around to us in the crowd with this big smile on his face and just said, that was close, wasn't it? With his thickest Yorkshire accent.
Wait, what did he say?
For some reason, I thought
that was close, wasn't it?
But with a big smile on his face. One, I was like, there's nothing fazed this guy. He's like laughing about it. But the second thing was, for some reason, I just expected to hear a London accent come out of his mouth.
I feel
And
like
it just threw me when I heard like this thick Last of the Summer Wine. You guys from England will know, it's a TV show set up north. This accent, and it just totally threw me. And like I remember, me and the people that I was with, we just looked round at each other and burst out laughing. I think they must have felt the same.
Oh boy.
That's the thing about David Seaman. He was a lovely fella. He always had a great smile and a good laugh. But you'd think he was dead serious as well, Stan, all the time.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, cool. When I used to go to Highbury, he always really sat in the same place. And he'd always be chuckling and have a very smiley and happy demeanor about him, no matter what was going on.
You know why, Stan? Because he knew he was good and there wasn't going to be any goals scored against him. That's what happened. But can I say, your story felt very, very much like Fever Pitch.
Oh, yeah. Why not?
That's
Have
funny.
you seen Fever Pitch?
Yeah.
Or read it?
I've read the book, yeah.
So it sounded a lot like Fever Pitch.
Oh, okay.
You guys know there's an American version of that movie now too, right?
Not very good.
You don't like it?
No. Is that
Oh,
like
no.
John Cusack?
No, it's Jimmy Fallon.
Baseball as well, so no.
Well, I'm a Red Sox fan. I think Jimmy Fallon's a pretty funny dude, so I liked it. I thought it was
I've seen something else. There was another book that Hornsby guy wrote. He's written another book, and I'm sure the film version has got John Cusack in it, and I didn't like it because I've read a copy of that guy's book.
Well, it's John Cusack. Come on.
I usually like John Cusack as well, but I just didn't like that.
Hey, John Cusack was great in Better Off Dead. $2. Anyway,
I haven't seen that one.
it's an old '80s flick. It's pretty good.
I have a backup story here. I have another story, but if anyone else has a story, jump in there before I start.
Well, let me,
Go on.
go ahead, Stan.
I've got another one. I lived in Belgium for a time, and on their metro system, which we'd call the Underground, I used to bunk it a lot. Basically, ride it without a ticket, you know. And they had like the train, you know, every now and
Who
again.
hasn't done that? We've all done that, right?
But yeah, but now and again, like you'd get the train police would ride, you know, and it was
Just
always
ride around and then just get off the same stop you got on at.
So,
Yeah.
No. I mean, I'd be going somewhere, you know, to get. I was living in Brussels, right, and there's an underground system, and to get into town and to go to other places, I'd ride it, but I used to jump it a lot.
They don't
And
check
one day
every stop.
One day I got caught on the carriage.
I totally misunderstood what you said.
It's very random, Tanner. So you could ride all day and not get caught at all.
For free. You mean for free?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Okay. I got it. I thought you said you would just get on it, like just ride it and just like
No.
like a road.
I'm usually to be, but I'm in there one day and the train police get on. I'm like doing something. I look up and they're already on the carriage and they come around like looking for tickets, and it's like an instant fine. You know, if you didn't have the ticket, it was like I don't know what it was. It was before we went to the Euro, so it was like what the currency in Belgium. But they've come to me, right? And there's no getting out of it. I can't go into the next carriage. I can't jump off at a stop. Like I'm busted. And it's like, have you got a ticket? Do you know what I mean? And I usually, instead of just saying no, I start doing the old, like, you know, I'm looking for a ticket that doesn't exist, basically. Looking in my pockets and all of that.
You're trying to blag it.
Huh?
You're trying to blag it.
I'm trying to blag it, but I know it's not going to. I'm not going. I'm banging the rights, and he's going. You know, if you don't have the ticket, you've got to pay the fine. So I pull out my wallet, and in my wallet, I just had an Arsenal membership card, and he could just see the top of it. And I opened it, and I don't know what the guy just went. Oh, Arsenal. I went, yeah. I went, yeah. I pulled it out, and he started talking to me about the season. You know, if I go to the games very often, that, you know, how much he liked Arsenal. And then he said, look, next time, please have a ticket. Do I have to? I basically I got away with it. We got to the next stop. I got off, and my Arsenal membership saved me from a fine. So,
And can anyone name a Belgian player that has played for Arsenal?
Thomas Vermaelen.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
Vermaelen, yeah.
Probably the only one. I would have liked Eden Hazard, but there you go.
Oh,
He
yeah.
started
It would've
scoring
been
again. So he would have scored for us, you know.
Right.
My story goes back to 2008. A great team with Eduardo, Cesc Fabregas. We're going great guns in the league, and this is after Eduardo. I think it's after Eduardo got his ankles snapped by that injury, which is horrible. But the Bolton Wanderers game, anyone remember that Bolton Wanderers game?
No.
I'm watching it with my brother-in-law, who happens to be an Arsenal fan. So he got my
Home or
recommendation.
away?
Go, sorry,
Are we home or away?
away from home. So I think it was Gary Megson was the manager back then. Remember
Okay.
Gary Megson?
Yeah.
Before we had all this, maybe after we had those problems with Allardyce, he used to love to stick us one with Bolton. We had such great tussles with them. Maybe not great because sometimes we would come out on the wrong end. Anyway, Gary Megson, my brother-in-law, he got a great recommendation to marry my sister because he was an Arsenal fan. He was okay. But we were watching that game together, and we hadn't watched games too much over the years because of distance and all that. Abu Dhabi gets sent off. We're down to 10 men. And before you know it, we're losing 2-0. We are losing 2-0. And that's it. With about 20 minutes to go in the game, my brother-in-law checks out. He's going upstairs. And Arsenal come back and score 3 goals. And I swear, every time, when it's 2-0 and that first goal comes, you get it back. It's like, okay, we're in this. So I grabbed his attention. He's coming back to the television, but he still doesn't believe. He goes away again. It happens. Another goal scored. I think it was Van Persie this time. 2-2. He stays by the television for a little bit, but it's getting like into injury time now. He's like, that's it. They're not going to do it. He walks away again, and when he's gone upstairs again, the third goal goes in. I fucking let out the biggest celebration, because those last second goals are priceless, right? When you get 3 points instead of 1. And it was Cesc Fabregas with a double deflection. So I'll leave the link down below after the podcast. But that was the time that I continued to believe in Arsenal. And it was probably 3 years after that, when we lost against Birmingham, that I actually started losing faith in Arsenal. Because that Birmingham game, right? We were supposed to win that one easily, Stan.
You know what, Radar? What you just said there about the last minute goals. When you're in that, when you're watching a game and you're behind, and then you get that one goal, like you're saying, you're thinking, shit, we're still in this. One more goal, and we could draw this, and then you get that one to draw, and then it's just running out, and you're thinking to yourself, we just got to hold on, and then you nick that final goal, and then the whistle blows. The thing is, though, VAR is going to spoil that now. VAR is going to all that emotion, because we can't celebrate yet until they've gone back to the caravan, had a look, and this, that, and the other. So I was just thinking that when you said, because those days are going to sort of be,
yeah, I mean that utter euphoria of actually knowing you've won the game. You don't have to go, hold on a second, did we do it? Did we not?
Yeah.
And the way I described that game, can anyone call out a game that we actually won this season in similar fashion? Hasn't been many of them. Aston Villa, right, Rohan?
Yeah.
I felt pretty good with the Chelsea game, with the Martinelli goal. I know that that was I really enjoyed that.
Yeah, did you ever there's been a couple of excuse my French, but the only way to explain this is FU moments, like, you're like, there's such great goals, and it's like, fuck you, we did it. You know what I mean?
Yep.
In the recent past, it was
goals this season, right, Rohan?
Right. Exactly. In the recent past, it was the Leicester game where we won it in the 94th minute.
Yeah.
And that time I called up my best friend and I was like, we're gonna win the league. We're gonna win the league.
Yeah.
and took a
We all
massive L.
felt sure. I felt pretty sure that night that we had turned over Leicester. We'd gotten pretty close to them, and
Twice.
we had beaten them twice that season. But you got to give it to them; they were unfazed,
Yeah.
unstoppable.
I mean, I
And
don't know. Like the whole season, everybody just kept, playing into their hands like they're, till the last game they were playing like these are they don't deserve to play there, and the bigger teams weren't really going in with a plan to defeat them, although they were seeing that they're ahead of them. I think complacency from the other teams. We did our part, right? We got 6 points from them. Like the other teams just didn't they didn't turn up. They
unfortunately,
beat
I
Man
think,
City.
yeah. Unfortunately, I think Rohan, we drew like 3 games immediately
Yeah.
after that
Yeah.
win.
Yeah.
0-0, 0-0, and they were not 2 big teams. They were not the top
Yeah.
6 teams.
It was that season for me where I started to really see that maybe Arsene Wenger's powers were on the
Yeah.
wane. Because if you
Yeah.
look at that season, we weren't the favourites, but the way that the other teams fell away for us, we had,
Yeah.
there is such thing as Lady Luck. She was definitely shining a light on us at one point, and I was so surprised that a manager like Arsene Wenger, with his experience, was unable to get us over the line. As you say, we went through a series of those draws that really affected us because we should have had that. That was in the bag. We really messed that one up.
And Drew just dried up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly, right. So which is the issue, right? Even after that Eduardo injury, the issue was that we went like 2 or 3 games with 0-0 draws after that. I mean, that's what cost us then as well. But yeah, I mean, for
2008,
late
yeah.
goals, that is one that I remember. And you guys remember, like, these are not classic duels, but Arsenal versus Burnley for a number of seasons used to be an extra time winner for us. We never lost to them, but Alexis
Yeah.
Sanchez would score at the end.
Yeah.
And I remember clearly, like, one of the games where we had scored and I was like super pumped, and then they scored. And I was like, oh shit. Like, and I was at a friend's
Yeah.
place, and then we get a penalty.
Yeah.
97th
97
minute or so,
minutes.
and I couldn't
my
even
God.
look. I wasn't even looking. I was just looking the other way, and Sanchez scored that penalty.
Oh,
and
that
we
was
won
that was a season where he was on fire, and I had no doubt at all that he was going to put that away in the 97th minute.
Yeah.
And just to see Sean Dyche, and he's going to go into punditry after his coaching, and he's going to be another generation that may hate Arsenal, another pundit that will hate Arsenal.
Yeah.
He hates
Yeah.
everyone.
So another like interesting, funny sort of thing that I had, like, I mean, I think I mentioned to you guys, as a profession, like, I'm a lawyer by profession, right?
Yeah.
And and this connects to the conversation that Tony and I were having on Twitter right now, and so basically Arsenal sell Van Persie, right? And Van Persie goes, and I was like blind faith in Arsene Wenger, and I was like, Podolski signed, he's there, but like after that, when he started scoring and he did like mad for them, I was like so distraught that when I graduated from law school, I sent an email to Slaughter and May to say that I need a job at your firm, and my sole intention was, because they were the law firm that represented Arsenal, to tie up these players to contracts so that they can't leave.
Awesome.
I actually sent an email.
What you're saying,
I got a
Rohan, is
response.
we need to get you over to London, Rohan.
We could have done with Rohan working on the Ramsey situation.
Yeah, really.
Right. And I was like, I'm going to tie these guys up. And, and that's such a big change, because I remember my interview going into law school, and, you have your face-to-face interview, and you're like, you're sort of want to impress in the interviews. I was like, yeah, I want to do something for the underprivileged, etc., etc. And then I'm graduating from
well,
law school.
Arsenal are them. That's Arsenal. It's perfect right now.
No, you're not exactly playing, are you?
Where are we right now? 8th or 9th in the league?
Yeah.
You know what
We're
else?
definitely
Is
underprivileged.
you know what else is
So
striking
which is-
to me, Tanner?
What's that?
You know what else is striking to me? We had a title challenge in 2008 that fizzled out.
Yeah.
We had a title challenge in 2016
Mhm.
that fizzled out. So we should really focus on 2024.
Yeah.
Going to like hibernation until then.
We got 4 more years.
Yeah.
This reminds me what I had told my friend that time when I had called him up after the Leicester game, and I said that in 2003 it was the year of the monkey, the Chinese year of the monkey when we won it, and this year it's the Chinese year of the monkey, and we're gonna win it again. We blew it.
Oh man.
Oh man.
All right, so let's talk quickly about the next topic, and that will be that the FA are pushing things back again till the end of April now. So, does anyone see that as a realistic time frame? Because I don't.
No.
They're playing
The players need to get
Coach
fit
Forster.
again, right?
Mhm.
Like they can't be like you're not playing now and then all of a sudden you start playing. So from when they start their practices, their training, you can count 2 weeks from then. But before that, any date is not realistic, I think.
Yeah.
I was watching a video earlier with Ian Wright where he does I think it's because of the self-isolation, he does a call to Lukaku. They've got like a split screen. It's like an interview. I think they're obviously friends. And, Lukaku was talking about training and what's been happening. And he said that we've been doing like a big WhatsApp group with the trainers. And then they said does anybody need exercise bikes? And they said that, if all those that said yes, within a couple of hours, the club had exercise bikes delivered to their homes. So
Yeah, I heard about that.
that sounds like they're all getting what they need from the clubs, but you still need to have you can keep yourself personally fit, but you need to have the interaction with your teammates, and there's things like patterns of play, I would imagine, and things like that they can't really work on. But
You can't simulate practice at home, and you can't simulate a game in practice.
yeah,
No,
And
you're
they
right.
say that match fitness is something absolutely different, right?
Yep.
You've seen this
Personal
video of
fitness and
Aubameyang running and all of that, but
Yeah. Personal fitness and
Yeah.
match fitness are two totally different things.
So who do you think? I'm probably going to put Stan in trouble here, like with this question, but which Arsenal squad member is doing the least amount of keeping in shape?
you're asking me
Eating schnitzel and strudel
Playing
while
Fortnite.
playing Fortnite.
Strudel. Boy, there's a joke in there somewhere.
Yeah, I'm sure that person's probably playing a lot of Fortnite and doing a lot of exercising in their gaming funds.
While
Sometimes the jokes write themselves, boys.
They
while
do.
Kolasinac is standing over him like this. And
Yeah.
we'll call him Batman. I think we've all
Get
seen
the high
these
score,
pictures,
man.
right?
Get the high score.
Tony, I
That's right.
see.
One of the suggestions to how to resolve the Premier League if it doesn't take place. One guy on Twitter wrote that there should be like a WWE Royal Rumble sort of a situation, right? And every team sends one representative, and we send a tank. There's no chance that we're losing it, right?
Wait, we said who?
Kolasinac.
Oh,
Kolasinac.
absolutely. Oh, yeah.
Here's the thing with that. I was thinking about someone said to me, if he was, locked away with someone and you wanted someone with you during this self-isolation from the squad, who would it be? And initially I did think, well, Kolasinac, right? Because if the coronavirus did break in, he'd probably just tear it a new arsehole. But then I thought to myself, he's had some very innocuous injuries of late and he's gone off quite easily. And I thought to myself, maybe the person maybe the person would probably be Guendouzi because he likes a row. He's the youngest guy, but if there's any trouble, Guendouzi is straight in there. So we should send him for the Royal Rumble match.
Hello, Hopes.
What's up, Hopes?
Morning, guys. How you doing?
Hi, Hopes.
You all right, guys?
Yeah.
We're just talking about who was going to be the least fit Arsenal squad player when we do get back to football.
Oh, yeah. You know.
You can inject some humor into it if you want, which we've been doing.
Mm.
Well, it's not going to be Mustafi, I can tell you that, because he's doing nothing but posting videos about how to walk the hands and how to look this out. So,
Yeah. Don't know, really. Could be, you know. Who knows? Who knows? I mean, Stan's on tonight. His best mate, Ozil, you know. Stan's
Oh, you just took my answer. You can't do that. That's my answer.
I heard on another podcast they call him Slowzil and stuff, but I guess all of them to a, you know, it's like, you know, it's like muscle. You don't use it, you know, it's gonna go.
No.
And
You know,
but I bet you anything, Arteta's got them on some regime, like you know, posting videos of I don't know, you know, their workouts and stuff, you know.
putting together promos on sticks and all that stuff, like Emery-esque.
He's probably like put up closed circuit TV in all of their houses, and he's probably sat in
the drones. The drones are flying.
yeah.
He's sat there with
the
TV
Calm.
Pear, release.
Going through his closet.
Pear, release the drones.
Yeah.
We got the drone. How many do we need? 22? 24? Yeah, we were thinking Mesut Ozil has stockpiled strudel and schnitzel, and he's playing Fortnite nonstop. And the internet is failing because of him.
Wasn't his wife expected to give birth like a month
3
ago
weeks
or
ago.
recently? Yeah, 3 weeks ago. Did she? I don't know. Did they have their baby or?
Kolasinac is changing nappies right now.
Yeah, the Godfather. The Godfather. Literally, rightly so, man. Yeah, he'd be one cool Godfather, man.
Yeah.
Except when it comes to disciplining, like when it comes to him disciplining the child, like you know.
Yeah.
Well, you know, when you have an extra mouth to feed it, you know, it can put a strain on your finances and resources.
Yeah.
Trying to keep a straight face.
Oh, this podcast is going downhill, boys.
Yeah, I mean this is what happens when you don't have any football, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you guys make of the end of the season? Well,
Yeah, we just touched on that. Yeah. Well, I think it's going to go a lot further than that without bringing the podcast down a bit. But yeah,
Well, did you guys see what? And forgive me, I'm probably butchering his name, but it was Kaveh Solikol from Sky Sports. I don't know how you say his name, but he put out a tweet that said, "If the season ended right now to promote West Brom and Leeds, nobody gets relegated, and you play a season with 22 teams next year."
ouch.
So does that mean? And he didn't like. There was no follow up to it. Like, okay, well, what happens in the following year? Then do we relegate 5 teams, or does the Premier League all of a sudden just get expanded by 2 teams?
I mean, with the lower half of the table, there's also the argument of the top tier about who gets Champions League. Is Man City still out? You know, there are so many like questions, like what's going on with the Man City lawsuit? Surely they got enough time now to sort that out. But it's a good shout, Tanner. I mean, yeah, there are so many different connotations. Do we trust the Premier League to get it right? Do we trust UEFA, FIFA to get the Euros, like the Champions League, UEFA to get the Champions League and the European Cup, right? Obviously, as an Arsenal fan, I think we deserve quite rightly the Champions League, but at the same time, absolutely shitting myself if we get in there, because I just don't want to end up like getting battered by Bayern or Real, like 52 or something,
Well, hopes in an effort to spice up the podcast, let's have that discussion.
Well, I just
Which
think,
one?
I just
Europe?
think, very quickly there that the FA either has to restart the season at a time that is deemed acceptable to start and continue the season. But if you can't continue the season, then you have to void it. You can't just say, okay, we're going to end the season, we're not going to finish it. Here you go, Liverpool. Here's the cup. You can't do that.
Well,
Would you? All right, okay.
No
Sorry.
one goes down. We all start again next season, or you continue it if you can. But if you can't do that, you can't just say you're going to go up, you're going to go down. You're in the Champions League spot. You didn't make Champions League spot. You won the Premier League. You can't do that.
Well, see, so here's another good question, and here again, it was on Twitter. The guys from Sky Sports talking about this, and they're all saying, yes, Liverpool, they're 25 points clear, hand them the trophy, blah blah blah. But then there was one argument who said, it was one guy, and I can't remember his name. I follow him on Twitter, but I can't remember his name. And he said, okay, well, wait a minute. Liverpool haven't won the league. They've not won the league. They have not clinched the league. They're still 6 points shy of it. So they've not won.
Yeah.
So if we're just going to give Liverpool the league and say, okay, well, here you go. You've now, I don't think anybody would argue they've been the best team by and large. And yeah, they're going to win the league, but they haven't won it yet. So if we're going to give Liverpool the league, if we don't finish it, we're just going to say, okay, this is how it ends. Well, Sheffield United has a pretty good argument because they haven't played as many games as Manchester United have. Manchester United are currently in 5th. And if Sheffield United win their one match in hand, guess what? They go 5th. And now 5th spot is currently a Champions League place with the Manchester City ban in place. So how does that work? So I don't think, especially because not everyone has played the same amount of matches, at least in the Premier League anyway, if the season ends right now, if they say, look, we just can't get it back on track, I think it just has to end. It just, okay, you know what? Sorry, guys. It sucks, but it's a lost season. And I think this is what all sports leagues are eventually going to come to the realization of is, like I heard a thing today, the NHL wants, somebody said that they were going to finish the playoffs in September, resume the season in late July, play through August. The Stanley Cup final would be played in the middle of September, and then they're going to start the following season in November. That just doesn't – one of the seasons, be it this season or next, are going to be shortened. It's just the way it's going to go. Major League Baseball and the NFL are sort of in the catbird seat because neither one of those leagues have started yet. But for the Premier League, for the NHL, for the NBA, I hate to say it, it pretty much at this point is just a loss. And the best thing to do is just, okay, it's done. We're really sorry. But it is what it is,
I mean, I'm very conscious of the fact that we're on an Arsenal fan podcast here. Now, for 1 second, if the panel were diehard Liverpool fans, born and bred, Stan, would you have said everything you've just said? Tanner, partly would you have said what you said if you was a Liverpool fan? In 30 years, you're 6 points from winning it. Look at your form.
Yeah.
Equally, to bring in the virus. I mean, a lot of governments across the world and countries who are now showing a declining rate of the virus are hell bent on this 12-week period where it goes really intense and then it dies down. Considering we've got another 2 weeks to the end of March, even if you say from the 1st of April, if you add 3 months to that 12 weeks, that takes us up to about June, I believe, right?
Yeah.
And there's only 9 games left. With the Euros now cancelled until 2021, there are only 9 games. It just means pre-season becomes that bit short because they've had a kind of physical break now. And then it could be, do you see what I'm saying? It could be that in 12 weeks' time, Yeah, it's just that we play out the 9 seasons, because let's not forget the season does not start until last week of August, that we've got the time till. And even if after 12 weeks they say, okay, social distancing, self-isolating, whatever, that still carries on. Going off the world trends in terms of this virus, there is from June to August, that's another 12 weeks, 6, 9, just under 12 weeks for those 9 games to be played. So therefore, my point is, I think gonna have to try and play it out and see. But I'll come back to my initial point. If we were diehard Liverpool fans, would we be saying? I mean, I'm trying to be fair here.
I'll go first. I'm a sympathizer to the Liverpool cause. I do see the funny side of it with banter and all of that. But for God's sake, 30 years, it could be the only thing they win in a lifetime of a Liverpool fan. I'm pleading for you on behalf of the Liverpool fans. To the other 4 of you.
So what?
Yeah, the other 4.
Listen, I hear what you're saying. Hopes are saying, look inward, look deeper, look at your soul, look at your heart. Well, I'll tell you, Hopes, right? I've taken a look, and where my heart should be, where this is concerned, there's just a big black lump of coal. Now, you asked me to say, right, if this was happening to Arsenal, how would I feel? And I got asked this, funnily enough, on from here to Dial Square yesterday. And I'll give you the same answer that I gave Andrew, right? If we were in this situation that Liverpool are in now, having played the kind of football that they've played this season, and then this virus, not winging anything for so long, and then something like this catastrophe, this pandemic happening, I would be gutted. I would be crushed and I would be gutted. But I always think in the back of my head that if they just stopped the season and they handed us the cup, it would not be recognised by anybody. Probably only Arsenal fans would recognise it. Anytime it would be brought up talking about football or Premier League wins, people will say, you can't have that one, Stan. What, that season? You know what I mean? It wouldn't be real. So, yeah, as a diehard Arsenal fan, and I'm not just saying it, for the show, I said it yesterday, I wouldn't want to accept it in that way. And it kind of circles back to what we were just saying a few moments ago. That season when we thought that we were going to win the league, but Leicester won. Yeah, we thought that we had that pretty much in the bag.
Valentine's Day.
And that didn't happen, another team. So, and Liverpool, they've just started to have a bad run of form. It's only 6 points, but this is football and anything can happen. So you can't just hand over the cup. It has to be earned.
Yeah.
Definitely. I absolutely agree with what Stan is saying, right? Like, first of all, the reality is that we're not Liverpool fans, and we don't need to sympathize or empathize all the time, right? If we empathize all the time, then we'll be like, oh, Tottenham shouldn't have been beaten 7-2 by Bayern at home. Boo-hoo. Like, what? Like, they took the piss when we lost, 10-2. We take the piss when they lose 7-2. Like, it's the same thing. Like, we see the funny side of it because it's not us. Every form of comedy is based off of that. Nobody's denying. Give them a certificate. I'll write them a certificate. I create one on my computer. Give them you played beautiful football, but you're not getting the title. You give them a shield, but you don't give them a trophy. And of course, it's probable that they're going to win it. I mean, it's pretty much done, but there's always that argument, right? Another, if you look at the season in a micro, in a micro part, which is a game. And I'll just take you back to the Champions League game that the final, the most unequal final that happened between Bayern Munich and Chelsea. Bayern Munich and Chelsea. At the 88th minute or the 85th minute, if the game would have stopped, everybody would have been like, "Give it to Bayern. They're battering Chelsea," But they went around and won it, right? Like that happened, but nobody thought that Watford were going to beat Liverpool 3-0, right? And all of this is just an argument to make, and it's not the reality. I do understand that, but that is still an argument, right? You can't just stop it at some point and give it to someone, and that's where the banter comes about. I don't care about their feelings. I won't think about how I would feel if I was in their position. Too bad.
God, I love him.
Another cold hard lump of coal there.
God, I love him.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not.
2-2, Hopes.
I mean,
Okay.
I'm not saying like, yeah, let's give them the cup. I think that some diehard Liverpool fans would admit that no, we want to, if we're gonna win the trophy, let's do it the ethical way. My point, which I think is being kind of missed partly, is that there is still time, and there are only 9 games.
There
And
is.
Don't forget
after-
European
after-
competition.
Yeah, but after this rest, don't forget, after this rest, a lot of the managers, because they don't know when the switch can be flicked. At the minute, it's kind of like April the 30th. So, I mean, with those 9 games and the Euros being cancelled, the season, I believe, can miraculously come June suddenly be restarted, and that would be really interesting because they would have had such a long break, And I believe Arsenal put out a tweet, yesterday saying that they're going to restart training. Anyone see that on their website or something along those lines? Something about London
along
Colney.
those lines. Yeah, if they don't reinfect each other again.
I mean, I got an email from him today.
Oh, did you now?
I sure
It
did.
was it from
Turn up.
Mr. Keown?
I got an email that
Mine must have got lost in the post.
Was it from Mr.
Hey,
Keown
check
Esquire?
check your spam folder.
Bobby
That-
Perez.
It basically just said that they'd shut everything down. They had a cleaning crew in at London Colney, cleaning everything, and it was a skeleton crew keeping up the pitch and everything like that. So, I'll apologize if I'm coming in a little quiet here. It's quiet time on the home front. So, but at any rate, I did not see the training thing. But to Hopes' point, there is time. We could theoretically, 9 games, I think, and this will probably be my last comment of the night, but so give me a minute here if I may. I think the domestic league is probably the easiest thing to finish off. And even if it is just, okay, Liverpool needs 6 points. So we're going to get everybody on a level playing field in terms of matches played, and give Liverpool a chance. Say we play 4 matches. And that's going to give Liverpool a chance to win the league. Now, if they haven't, for some reason, accomplished their 6 points, I don't know how things would finish at that point. But I would say that once everybody's on a level playing field in terms of matches played, the final standings are the final standings. So to say that, well, Liverpool still need 1 point to win the league, it's okay. Are we really going to bicker over 1 point with 5 matches to go? They're going to get the 1 point. I get it, but if they I'm playing devil's advocate a bit, and this is why. Is it more important to see the league end, or to not see Liverpool get a trophy if they haven't, quote unquote, earned it? So you either just scrap the whole thing, it doesn't count, none of it matters. Now for us as Arsenal fans, that's great, because if it ended right now, we're not in a European position.
Yeah, I'm gonna go to bed.
We're not in a European position, so great, scrap it.
We're in the worst season of our
Right.
many years.
So that's it for me, boys. I gotta run.
Cheers, Tanner.
So I'll catch you guys later on Twitter. All right, boys. Thanks. Have a good night.
See you
Good
later.
night. Take care.
And by happenstance, Tony, you get the casting vote to pass, to carry the motion of Hopes or not.
Yeah, Doc Cotton.
I'd go ahead and give Liverpool the
It's
title.
the EastEnders now, huh?
I'd go ahead and give Liverpool the title, but I think we're going to try to play it out, since the broadcasters announced today that the Premier League would have to forfeit £762 million if they don't finish the season.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a great
Yeah.
point, Tony. That's a great point. The teams have an obligation to play the games, or else they're going to have to hand back some of that TV money. You know.
No,
Yeah,
you just claw it back from the next season. Yeah, this season is voided. Yeah, it's all voided, and that means that if you're in the Europa League this season, you're in it next season. It's like this season didn't happen. We start again fresh next season. You're all in those competitions, whether you're in the Champions League, Europa League, whether you had to play a qualifying game, it all resets. That's what I think should happen if you cannot restart the season and continue it. Because there's every possibility, right? That could you imagine this? Imagine this scenario. 3 months go by, the season restarts, and we decide that we're going to finish those 9 games. And then for whatever reason, Liverpool go on a 9-run game of not being able to score any goals. And Manchester City
Did they sign Giroud?
like their form, because that is possible. It's football and it could happen.
wholeheartedly,
what?
Stan.
I know you're playing devil's advocate.
That would be a great scenario to see as well. I'd like to see that play out as well. Because of all of their moaning and pissing, give us the trophy now, we're going to win it. What happens if you restart it and they can't even win it fairly? That'd be brilliant.
You are an evil man, Stan. First,
No, but
but
it's like it's like the Space Jam situation, right? When all the players lose their powers, and so like Alexander Arnold can't cross for shit.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you guys. You know, in what you say, Stan. Like, you know, it is a valid point. It's not unheard of. I mean, if Gerrard didn't slip, they would have won the title a couple of seasons ago. You know, so, like if you know what happened with Spurs and Man City last year's Champions League, you know, and Spurs nicked the goal and they got a penalty, you know, over an iffy handball. You know, that there are so many scenarios that can be played out. And I think, you know, equally, yeah, as you said earlier, if I was a die-hard Liverpool fan, I wouldn't just want the trophy. Let's play it out. Let's see. But what I am saying, that let's not forget, there is ample time. And with that 762 million, I mean, you know, that's probably locked away in rights and stuff like that. The Premier League, if anyone can afford to lose 762 million, it's probably the Premier League, you know? And you know, and still get away with it because once this is all over, all this pandemic madness, with the absence of football, of sports in people's lives, if anything, people are just going to go from like from famine to feast. But it is kind of, it's a great talking point over what could happen. But yeah, you know, it's not unheard of for teams to capitulate. I mean, we capitulated when in 2017, was it, when we were close to Leicester, and yeah, we didn't get it, did we?
I mean, also, right, if we were in Liverpool's position right now, who would be out there other than us Arsenal fans? Who out there would be going, let's just give it Arsenal. Let's just give it to Arsenal. No one would be saying, give it to Arsenal.
All right.
Who would be saying, yeah, let's give it to Arsenal. Finish it now.
Not Tottenham, not United.
No, but that's just the banter of football, though, isn't it? That's just the banter of football. Like, you know, you're not gonna wish.
I don't know those hopes, because it seems to me that there's a couple of teams in particular that seem like media darlings. And it seems like I'm seeing a lot of people saying, give it Chelsea. Yeah, we'll stop it and we'll give it to Liverpool. But they've not said how they would sort out relegation or teams coming up. They just seem to be saying, just give it to Liverpool and let everything else sort itself out. And I'm sure if Tottenham were in the same position, they'd probably be getting the same media darlings who are saying, just give it to Liverpool. Because there are teams, let's have it right. After that last game where Alexander Lacazette didn't get that penalty, when the guy was climbing all over him, and then we went up and scored our goal, and they've done everything that they could to try and not let us have that goal. I know that there is a conspiracy in football against Arsenal. Don't try and tell me that there's not. No one likes us. We should have had the Millwall motto that I said earlier. No one likes us and we don't care, because it is kind of fitting.
Yeah.
What we haven't touched on is the fact that we've got a game in hand as well. And I think
Correct.
if we win that, I mean,
No.
here again is another speculation and so on and so forth. That could push us up a couple of places. I mean, Rohan said earlier, who would have thought Watford could beat Liverpool 3-0? But, you know, a bit of a disclaimer here. If you look at my tweets, I tweeted even before the game started, I bet Watford win 3. I said 3-1. But anyway, but
It
yeah,
was
you know,
up to 8th place.
it is right, okay. But, you know, with a bit of momentum, just like Liverpool can go on the downward spiral, with a bit of momentum, we could go on that upward spiral, you know. But again, equally on the opposite side of the table, like where the relegation battles are, I believe it's fairly close down there as well, with Watford and West Ham, and you know, what it means for a club to lose out on this place.
Norwich are essentially relegated. They're 4 points off of the next place, but then it's 25 points, and then three teams on 27. So yeah, there's five teams down there.
And also with 9 games to go, I'm not so sure that Chelsea look really nailed on to be a Champions League qualifier. You know,
they were.
It stops now. Champions League qualification. They look like they were about to maybe lose some form.
This is kind of go ahead, Rohan.
If we were in this, if it was the same time last season when the season would have stopped, everybody would have bet that Arsenal was going to finish in the Champions League, right? We had a run of 7, 6, 7, 8 very winnable, easy fixtures.
Yeah.
And then we blew it there, right? And Chelsea in this situation, you know, they're not playing great, and you know, they could come down. We could go up from this situation. You know, all of this is improbable, but you know, Sunderland has had the great escape, right? You know, when they look dead and buried a couple of seasons ago, you know, Crystal Palace didn't get their first win until like the 7th or the 8th game. They didn't even score a goal until 7 or 8 games. So, you know, again, every time it's you can't you know, decide. That's the point of sport, right? Otherwise, if we knew who was going to win always, we'd never tune in.
Yeah.
There's also an argument to say that this enforced layoff could actually help Arsenal and Mikel Arteta. You know, if players are gradually coming back from self-isolation, but the games are still been halted, and he's able to get out on the training pitch with the players, you know, he could be working on patterns of play and what he wants players to do. And, you know, it could be like a mini pre-season for us, which could work in our favour. We could come back for those 9 games to play and storm up the league. It's possible, right?
Yeah, Stan, we were getting some momentum with ourselves, and United had momentum. Chelsea were losing momentum. So this may have helped Chelsea. This may have helped Tottenham, who will get players back as well. So,
correct.
Who knows?
So in fact, you know, if the league continues for longer, and let's say next season has to be delayed by a week or 2 or whatever it is, you know, or if they have to play 22 teams as well, you know, let's just hypothetically take that situation. You know, an idea could be to just get rid of the Carabao Cup. You know, I mean, I don't know. Do all the leagues play four trophies? I do understand that's one of the trophies, that's a winnable trophy. But everybody who says that Liverpool should be handed the title because they're in this position, well, I say that Man City should be given the Carabao Cup for next year and just be scrapped with it, because they win it every year anyway, right? They've got the second best team. Like,
only the last 2 years. That's all.
Yeah, give us the FA Cup because we've won it more than anyone else, so the odds are in our favour. So just give us the FA Cup.
Yeah.
In the last 7 years, they've won it 5 times. You know, they've got the best B team. Like, who's going to argue with that? You know, just give them the Carabao Cup and get rid of it, and then have all of these games.
But that would not satisfy some of our fans just with the FA Cup again, Stan. We want more than that, right?
Of course.
Let's do.
Can I?
Yes.
I was just going to ask. Coming away from, you know, what happens about the league, there's also the question hanging over our Arsenal Football Club about Aubameyang. Does he stay? Does he go? You know, is he going to sign? Is it, you know, there are these kind of other interesting scenarios that play
You're
out.
triggering. You're going to trigger Tina. Be careful.
Yeah, you know, like, do we keep him? Do we not? You know, I mean, for the amount we get for him, who can we? You know, how many players will that buy? You know, so yeah, I mean, okay, there is the
All right,
whole Liverpool situation,
let me-
but
let me
coming back
put
to
that-
that, coming back to Arsenal and Aubameyang, you know, do we keep him? Do we sell Laka?
Hopes. Where's your breaking? What's the valuation where you would change your mind? Where do you break there on Aubameyang? What value? What values you start to talk?
Okay, I'm taking into consideration his current and previous Premier League form. His age, the fact that he is in form. He always seems to be in form anyway.
You don't have a bloody answer, will you?
No, I'm just
Get
hold
off
on.
the
Give me a
fence.
second. I would say probably about
Get off the fence.
85 mil,
Yeah. Get off the
and then
fence.
and then I'd consider him.
85. Okay. You see what I
80,
did there,
85.
Tony? I got him on record first, which is very hard to do.
It's impossible.
85 million. Do you do business?
No, I just think that, you know, for me, the name of the game is goals. And if you've got someone that is scoring you goals, I don't care if he's 31. You know, look at Zlatan. He's still playing football. You know, he seems like a player that takes care of himself. He's not really had hardly any injuries. I don't really remember him, Aubameyang, being out for long times of injury. I think the longest time I can actually remember him being out is the ban he got for 3 games with the red card. Unless I can't remember anything. But it's all well and good getting the 80 and 85 million for him. But can you guarantee that you can spend that money to bring in someone that's going to give you the same amount or even more goals a season? That's where I'm a little bit, you know.
Or even play so well with Lacazette?
But then you could ask the same question, Stan. If you could, who would that guarantee be?
What do you mean? Like, if
Aubameyang.
what do you mean?
I mean,
Fine.
you said if we sold him for 85 million, could we guarantee to get another striker who could give us what Aubameyang could? And I'm saying one up on that. If you could, who would that player be for you?
Got anyone in mind, Stan? Like, they just grow on trees, right?
You see, for me, yeah, I'll answer my own question here, right? Which is what I would do if I'd sell him for 85 mil. I would solidify this. I would get another centre back, and I would get another 1 or 2 ball playing centre midfielders, because then it doesn't matter who you got up front. We're gonna get goals because the service will be there. We need to kickstart our midfield so we don't go defence, attack, goal. We need that midfield strong.
I just
Just
think
like we did back in the old days.
You're fixing one problem
This is-
at the cost of wrecking another part of the play. Do you know what I mean?
This is the Suarez situation.
Okay, Rowan.
This is the Suarez situation. You can't exchange goals for money and try to fill that up in other positions. You know, that is the most important position on the pitch. I mean, goalkeeper, we can say.
Devil's advocate. Aubameyang was out for 3 games. He was in red card, 3 game suspension. We did okay while he was out.
Yeah, and I also like to draw the panel's attention to two players Liverpool sold, Suarez and Coutinho.
And then how many years did it take them after they sold Suarez to get back here? Like I think that Suarez season was when, in 2013, I think it was in 2013.
Maybe 12.
We're in 2020 now, and so you know, the thing with Aubameyang is that he is the guy who can guarantee goals. He's not even playing in his preferred position, and I know that I tweeted this out, and Tony like messaged me saying that, I mean, he he tweeted back saying that he played 2 games there and he did not score. The thing with statistics is that you just use it to your benefit. I'll give you another stat. In one of these seasons, 2014, 2013, 2013, I think, Giroud scored the first 5 games continuously,
All right.
right?
So
And that doesn't mean anything, right? Like
let Tony come back then. He's got his hand raised. Finally, Tony.
Shane and Rohan, how many goals has Sanchez scored since he's left Arsenal?
Yeah, exactly. Like
How
you
many?
never know. He scored 5, but okay, 3. Yeah, right. So that's the point, right? Like you a known devil is better than an unknown angel or whatever, however that
Yeah.
goes. Like
Yeah. Better the devil you know.
he's a world class talent, and with 85 million, also we can't replace him. The replacements that we are going to look for are obviously going to be younger. It's going to be someone like a Timo Werner or someone like that who's not going to come for cheap. That person is going to be above 100 million. We're going to try to do a stopgap of having Nketiah play there, overplay him, burn him out. We're
What
going to
about
create such chances, but we're not going to be able to score, which is what we were doing in that Leicester season, the second half of the season, right? We had plenty of chances that we were creating, but we weren't scoring goals.
True.
And so he is the world class player that we have. We
Oh.
have to do everything that we can to retain him, and if we have to sell him, we need to sell him abroad. Because if we sell him
Yeah.
to a rival, there's just 2 places open for the Champions League, right? There's just 2 places open. That's 3rd and 4th. And
Yeah.
that 3rd and 4th, if we sell him to a Manchester United or Chelsea,
They'll take it.
then we're just sealing that one other spot, because they're
Yeah.
already better than us in the table. We need to get up, and that is one position that we have, which is solid. We don't need anyone in attack. And why should we sell him to buy a center back or a midfielder? Like, is this what we've come to? Like, this why
Well,
we tune in
well,
like every
Liverpool-
week, or we go to the Emirates?
Not that Liverpool's the model to follow by all means. Let's not say that, but they did something similar.
I believe that wasn't it after Liverpool sold Suarez, they won a Champions League. Correct me if I'm wrong. And in terms of, there is a part when Rohan was speaking there, and the other panel members, what came to mind for me, we all Wengerized, like we're putting like one player to be the ultimate person. Hey, football is played by 11 men on the pitch in each half, and
Correct.
it isn't the likes of Leicester who won the league with unknowns, with Jamie Vardy who'd been come up from a non-league football side. Now, okay, there are how many Leicester Cities do you get? How many Sheffield United you get? I believe when Burnley first were promoted, they were doing great. And then the lack of the depth of the squad, but Wolves as well. They seem to be holding their own weight in Europe and domestically. I think for me, I would sell Aubameyang if it meant getting balance and consistency in our team and allowing us to play Arteta ball, defense and attack. Because going back to what Rohan said, is this what we've come to? Yeah, financially we have, because Kroenkes it's arguable how much they will pump and how much they will not pump. Yeah, I do agree. I do equally agree with Rohan that we shouldn't sell Aubameyang to a rival. If he goes, let him go into Europe. And I think, he had this whole grandfather situation or father situation about, something was promised about Real Madrid and so on and so forth. But for me, what is more important than Aubameyang is Arsenal Football Club, because no footballer is invisible. He at one point will get injured. He will retire. Like, let's look at our rival down across the road. Spurs. Like they've got Harry Kane and Son missing, and who are they? I don't want to be that team that relies on one player.
Mm-hmm.
So
Like,
I just want to comment here and say that this example that Hopes gave about the fact that they sold Suarez and they won the Champions League, but since they've sold Suarez, the team that has won the maximum number of Champions Leagues is Real Madrid, right? And they won that because of that list, which was Ronaldo, right? Like it's played by 11 guys, but it's won by that one guy who wins you, who scores that hat trick against Bayern Munich, who scores 2 goals, in the next game, who scores against, in the final,
Yeah.
that overhead kick, etc., etc. That is the difference between, being a Sheffield United or a Wolves who are competing, but it's an upset versus that Aguero moment at the end who can win you in the 94th minute. That is the guy who does it, right? And he's the guy for us who will
Yeah.
do it.
Yeah.
Never sell for mediocrity. Bale, they sold Bale and they bought a bunch of players with the same thinking. Do we even trust the recruitment
Well, we
process
knew
at Arsenal?
when they sold Bale, we knew they would spend that money horrifically as well. Right?
Do we even trust the recruitment process at Arsenal to say that we'll sell a world class player and then we'll buy intelligently to
No, we can't
really
trust it.
to
No.
compensate for that?
No.
Better than letting me walk for free in
And
12 months.
might I say, we've been here before. Stan will remember Ian Wright. We had a terrible midfield. Ian Wright would get the lion's share of all the goals every season. Hope Stan, Tommy. We've been in this situation before as well, and we did not sell Ian Wright on.
But you mentioned Leicester Hopes as well. When they went and won the league, they didn't turn around and say, right, who wants to buy Jamie Vardy? We were sniffing around him, but Leicester didn't want him to go. They didn't want their talisman, the person that was getting all of their goals to go. They wanted him to stay. And I just think that, with Pierre Aubameyang, keep him. We should be building around him. We should be adding to him, not taking him away. And then with the money thinking, right now, we've just got rid of 25 goals a season. How are we going to spend this money and ensure that we get those 25 goals back? Because if that is goals this season, we'd be right down there. We'd be
Let's
right
talk
down
about that, Stan.
I would.
Hopes. Let's talk about that. Hopes. Who would you buy?
Yeah,
Buy 3 players with that 85 million.
I'll answer that last. The first point I want to say is going back to Rohan about, and I think it's true what he says in terms of when you're in semi-finals, finals, and you have the overhead kick moment, and you have that moment of brilliance that can only come from a world-class player, quite rightly so. But at the minute, we're nowhere near that level. Can we afford to harbour and harness that luxury player like we've been carrying Ozil for so many seasons, right? Can we afford to have these players in the hope that we will get there if we get there? Because if you remember, just last season when we were in the European Cup final, Aubameyang was on the pitch. And nothing happened.
Yeah, nothing happened.
Yeah, and then the second point, going back to Stan saying that, when Leicester won the season, we were linked to Vardy, but Vardy was loyal and he said he's not going to go. Let us not forget, in that season, Kante went, Drinkwater went, the crux of their midfield went, who were supplying Vardy. And what happened? They were irreplaceable. And then coming back to your question, Stan, very sorry about the 3 players. I believe it was the 3. Sorry.
Spend that money. Let's see what you do.
I would do what I'd said, and I'd stand by it. I would buy a centre back and 1 or 2 box to box playing midfielders.
Yeah, give us some names.
Okay, so box-to-box midfielders, definitely for me, 150% would have to be Doucouré. 150%, because again, he's consistent. He's got that presence. In terms of centre back, I would go. Well, actually, hold on. One other player I'd go with in centre midfield, who we saw just a week or so ago, or 10 days ago, was Partey. He played really, really well for Atletico. And in terms of centre back, I would play it safe and shop domestically within the UK. And I would probably for what we get out of him for 1 or 2 seasons, someone like a Dunk.
Yeah.
And that would shore it up. Why? Because it would, because we got Saliba coming in as well. Mari kind of looks pretty good, who I know you like, Ray. But what that would mean is that between defence, midfield, and attack, the ball is played between the channels, which we're since Wenger's last 2 seasons, we've been such a mismatch of players glued together and players going off, and we've been unable to replace them. I just don't think, what's the point of having an Ozil and Aubameyang, but we can't utilise them to their potential? The last 2 seasons, should Aubameyang be playing on the left? No, he should be playing out and out. So what's Lacazette doing? On the bench, we can't afford to have them. A rebuild means let's get to that level first, and then we can afford to have the luxury players.
I'd like to counter that, if I may. I mean,
Yeah.
you keep comparing. You're kind of saying that we can't afford to have another Ozil, and you're saying that Aubameyang. But I don't see how you can compare our number 10 to Aubameyang.
Yeah, you just group the 2 players together, like liking them.
We get an end product from Aubameyang.
Yeah.
We are getting an end product which we're not getting from Ozil. So there is even an argument that we can adjust his wages, we can pay him a little bit more, and we could probably put some incentivized stuff in there to bring him up. I believe that players should be able to earn what they're being paid, and like if you work in sales, or if you sell a car, or what have you, there's a commission structure to encourage you to do better for the company. And I just think that comparing those 2 players, it's a world apart.
No, I think my point was taken literally. Like I wasn't comparing them. First and foremost, I hold my hands up. I was not comparing them. I think my point was taken literally. What I'm saying is Aubameyang and Ozil are luxury players to have in any team.
No.
The other point
Aubameyang is not a luxury player.
I wanted to say was as well, you talked about he's playing out of position. I don't actually think he is playing out of position, because we're still getting a tangible end product for him. I just think football's changed. If you look at the front 3 at Liverpool, there's an argument to say that Sadio Mane's playing out of position. That Sadio Mane should be playing through the middle, because at some of his other clubs that he's played as a number 9. But the way that football is played now, if you look at the way Liverpool plays, Bobby Firmino isn't sort of like racking up, 25, 30 goals a season playing through the middle. He's doing other things to bring the 2 people that are playing on the flank into play. Now, that wouldn't be the formation that I would go with, but we do play similar up front with the 3. So I kind of get that we do play Aubameyang on the left. I think that we can vary it up a little bit and maybe have some games where he does maybe play through the middle. Maybe if he was playing as part of a 2. But in the 3, I kind of get it. I'm not happy I understand it.
I take your point that no player's position's fixed, but a striker's position to a certain extent is fixed. And Aubameyang, like seeing him like cover our left back, is a bit like, come on. I don't see Bobby Firmino doing that. I don't see Salah doing that. I don't see Sane doing that. If we work with what we've got at the minute, all day, every day, I would say I would want Aubameyang to be in the middle as just out and out striker all day
definitely.
long. Absolutely.
Definitely. I think as well, with Aubameyang, especially because this is a point that people raise, right? That he's on the wrong side of 30. You've got to conserve his energy. Again, play him like style that he makes those runs in the width of the box and sort of operates in that area. I don't want to see him near our goal playing 1-2s with our center backs and trying to get the ball up. And that's not what he's there for. If he's a luxury player, the luxury is for him to score the goals, and there is a tangible end product. And in fact, we're not even getting as many goals as we should have. In his last 2 seasons in Dortmund, he scored like 35 and 40 goals in the last 2 seasons, and we haven't even got to 30 goals with him. That's because of the position that he's playing. And on the left, we've got exciting talents with Martinelli and Saka. Why aren't we playing them there and playing this guy in the middle, sell Lacazette, and make money off of that?
Yeah. I mean, I do agree. I'm not saying that he should stay on the left, but I'm just saying I kind of understand it, and it's hard for me to argue against it because I was a proponent for him playing through the middle. But the more he's producing goals from there, it's harder to argue for me. It's harder for me to argue against
you make him play at left back. You make him play at left back, he'll still score goals.
Let me pose the question.
He will score goals from anywhere. I mean, clearly, I love the guy, but
to finish up here tonight, let me pose this one question. What we're talking about, Aubameyang being played on the left wing, is that hindering Martinelli's progress?
Good question. Yeah, I mean, for me, it just comes back to my earlier point. This is consistency in my point again, that first and foremost, I agree with you. It does hinder not just Martinelli's progress, but Saka's progress as well, because Saka's not a left back. But more importantly, why it substantiates my point is because of the mismatch we have got. And like Rohan said, Aubameyang's last 2 seasons at Dortmund, man was scoring 35, 40 goals, and now he's not even nearing that because, and I believe as Rohan was speaking, Tony said the word midfield, because our midfield is not doing what it's supposed to do. Get the ball, run with it, or get it to our attackers. Don't expect like Lacazette every game having to drop back to pick up the ball, pass it, and then surprise, no one's in the box. That has just been, every time I've been to the Emirates this season, that has just been, and last season, it's so annoying to see. Yeah, it's well appreciated, the man's work rate, Laka's work rate, but because of the unbalance in the team, I believe, another player, you speak about Martinelli, another potential player who we haven't given a chance is Ainsley Maitland-Niles, who's now looking to move on because, he's not getting an opportunity.
That boat has sailed at this point, it looks like.
Yeah, and then going back to Nketiah as well, his name's coming to the mix tonight. I personally don't think Willock, Nketiah,
Ainsley Maitland-Niles,
to a certain extent, are cutting it. These players need to be replaced because what we need right now, we can't afford to maybe like Carabao Cup and, stuff like that. Yeah, put them in, or early phases of Europa League. But if we want to have the likes of Aubameyang in our side and therefore qualify for the Champions League week in, week out, we can't be doing that with the likes of trialing players in positions. Look at Martinelli, look at Saka. They come in, boom, hit the ground running. So yeah, Ray, to answer your question, I think it does shortchange Martinelli.
But to play devil's advocate to that, Hopes, I hear what you're saying about some of these players that are not providing for Aubameyang and not good enough, which is costing us goals. But then the flip side of the coin is that, well, we did have Mkhitaryan as well, who was working very well with Aubameyang at Dortmund. And you would think that if we have those two, that they would be able to replicate what they did at Dortmund. But that wasn't the case.
Last season didn't work out so well.
It's not necessarily just down to specific personnel. It could be a lot of other things. But we do agree on one thing, and I'm glad that you said it because I get hammered a lot when I say it, that some of those players that you mentioned, Joe Willock, Eddie Nketiah, Ainsley Maitland-Niles, I just don't think these players are good enough to command a starting place in the first starting 11 for Arsenal. I just don't see it.
And I think the reason why the whole Mkhitaryan Aubameyang partnership did not reignite, big part of it was the way Emery wanted us to play football.
Yeah,
it just wasn't happening, because now I believe Mickey's doing bits at Rome.
He is.
You know, he's got that ability in him, but maybe he would flourish under the likes of Arteta. You know, a ball playing manager. You know, don't run with the ball, but like a 3-second rule. Not sure. What do you think, Tony?
Would you bring Mkhitaryan back under Arteta, Tony?
Nope, I'd sell him, get 180,000 a week off of wages.
If I had the option over Cazorla or Mkhitaryan, I would take Cazorla first.
We turned down 10 million from Roma for Mkhitaryan and a full-time deal while he was on loan.
Yeah, we want more money. Can we all agree that it's going to be Aubameyang has all the power this summer? It's going to be his choice.
It always is.
He's
Right.
not signed, so we might as well sell him.
He's not what?
Said he's not signed, so we might as well go ahead and sell him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that again, yeah, definitely he has the power. He's got 12 months left, but if we show him a project, he's well loved with amongst Arsenal fans. You know, he can get us back into some sort of momentum in 2-3 years, and he's still going to be around. And if there is a project in place, I'm not, you never say never, right? Like, you can convince him, get Ozil off the paybooks, and, of course, nobody will take 350,000 pounds a week for him. Nobody's going to pay that. So, but we have to pay a part of it, and then, let somebody else pay a part of it. Let him go to Turkey or somewhere. And then build around Aubameyang, and whether we're hampering Martinelli, but the question is that, was anyone expecting Martinelli to explode on the scene like that anyway?
But we didn't expect that either.
What Martinelli has done this season, if Pepe would have done that, we would have been happy with our 72 million.
Yeah.
That's the difference between the two.
And to answer your question, that's why Martinelli came in at that price tag, because not even his agents thought he would do that. But sometimes that's just the way the cookie crumbles, because, everyone thought, a lot of people thought, Pepe's done amazing at his other club, and he's just going to run ragged in the Premier League and so on and so forth. And despite giving chance after chance, he needs time. I saw an interview with Lacazette, and he was saying, Premier League's hard, and it would take him at least a season. However, on the flip side of that, you've got Martinelli doing his, just coming and disproving that logic. Then you've got someone else coming up through the ranks in Saka, disproving that logic. It's like you've either got it or you haven't. And in terms of like Aubameyang buying into the project, this would have been his third project. First, Wenger's project, then Unai Emery's project, and now Mikel Arteta's project. Personally, if I'm Aubameyang, I want out. I've had enough of projects, man. Just put me if Real come knocking, I'm going Real, or I'm going to one of these teams where I'm playing with top players, and I know fuck the project. Sorry, forgive my French, right? But sod all of that, because wherever I go, I'm gonna have the fans on my side 100%. Why? Because I know I'm scoring goals. Mm-hmm. And I think Stan said this in previous podcasts about, Aubameyang's got swagger to him, like, he's Lambos and, 3 Lambos and all that kind of stuff, So in that respect, I wouldn't blame him if he didn't want to stay. Like, how many players have been promised projects at Arsenal, and how many have ever materialised since probably 2003?
And you know what? A player doesn't often get. It's often about timing in a transfer, and the player doesn't often get the opportunity to jump to another club. And let's face it, they are contracted players. They don't born with the badge on their chest, right, Stan? If he has the opportunity to go to Real Madrid, he's probably going to do it, and he's got all the power.
I mean, it's just a job at the end of the day. You know, he wasn't born in
those days are gone of the Tony Adams and the John Terrys and those type of players, you know.
Yeah.
But for me, I would spend the money with Max Aarons at right back. We need to give Bellerin happy birthday, Hector, but we need to give you some competition. And I love your shout on Decore hopes, but maybe throw in a Cantwell or a Grealish as well to augment that midfield, and that's what I would go with. Rohan, you got a couple of players you'd like to spend some money
Yeah.
for players?
I think if we are, we need a defensive midfielder, another defensive midfielder for some reason. Torreira, I don't know if he's playing as much. He's really good, but we need another one. One guy that I like probably will cost a lot of money is Ndidi, and from Leicester, right? And he has been the change between Leicester's season, right? Like it's been chalk and cheese since then. So so Ndidi is somebody that I would look at. Of course, Thomas Partey, if he wants to come again, he'll have many suitors. So why should he? The same argument holds for any world-class player. Then why should he choose Arsenal? Just because he has a buyout doesn't mean that he will come to Arsenal. So, but I mean, I like Decore as well. Centre back is somewhere where I think our prime spending should be on centre back. I've said this before as well. Upamecano, maybe have Upamecano and Saliba partnership, and if that works out, that probably sorts us out for the next 10 years.
I wouldn't even be against De Ligt. I see he's out of favor. Maybe Juventus. Stan.
Yeah, I'm with Rohan. I'm quite big on Upamecano. He's one of the players that I'd like us to see us bring in. Also quite big on Donny van der Beek from Ajax. Yep. I think he's got all of the sort of attributes that would serve Arsenal well. He assists, he shoots, he doesn't mind getting back and doing some dirty work as well. Kind of a little bit similar to Aaron Ramsey. Kind of reminds me of when I've seen him play. To answer Hope's question when he asked me about bringing in a striker, if I was going to go that way, if we did get money for Aubameyang, the pub where I watch the Arsenal games, we share with Celtic, and they've got a lad up there, a French player called Edouard. Can't remember his first name, begins with an O, but I see him score quite a lot of goals, and he's about 22, 23 years old. And he looks very, very calm in front of goal. I've seen him score a few goals which have that sort of Henry-esque way of coming in from the left on the edge of the box, opening his body up and then curling the ball round everybody else in the box and getting it into the top corner. So I like the look of this kid as well. They'd probably be the ones that I would want to spend money on. Players like Thomas Partey, I only know what I'm hearing from other people. Yeah. I don't watch the games. He sounds like someone that could do a job. And then you got players like Ndidi and Decore to help with a little bit of toughness and a little bit of steel in the middle of the park as well. Anyone from those names, I'd be happy with if they were.
And the thing with all those players you named, Stan, with all those players, they score goals. Those midfielders, especially.
Yeah. Tony, you might get the second last word here.
I'd go raid relegation teams and get Aki, Aarons, and Grealish, and get Thomas Partey.
Yeah, sounds good. I think we can definitely raid some of those teams. Yeah, Hope.
Can I just interject here?
I was looking for the last word.
No, I'm not. It's as well as me saying.
On you know that.
I know. As well as me saying the centre midfield and the defence need bolstering. Something that you said, Ray, that triggered this point in my brain. That was, I would like to see a replacement for Pepe as well, in case he doesn't deliver. Because at the minute, again, what do we have? The unbalanced. Our left hand side is looking really good and really strong. Even with even if you put Tierney in there, wonderful, perfect. Like with him, Aubameyang, him, Martinelli, him, Saka, perfect. But at the minute, we've only got Pepe and Reece Nelson. And if Pepe does not, like, start of next, let's say this season, like all of this pandemic didn't happen and the season ends, you know, I don't feel that Pepe has got anyone challenging for that place. And maybe we need to I'm willing to even say, okay, you know what, this whole Pepe thing's not working. Let's get another right winger in there to give us that link up between right winger and right back, and who have a equally good understanding as our left hand side. It just means that when teams defend against us or attack us, they can't just target one area, because in the last season with Ainsley Maitland-Niles playing at right back, and our whole right side's been really weak, and I think that's one area that is being it's not being spoken about because I think in every Arsenal fan's heart we're secretly praying that Pepe comes up like trumps. Otherwise, we won't hear it. We'll just have to take that one on the chin, won't we?
Let me just ask you then, Hopes, what's your thoughts on Reece Nelson? Because when you mentioned some of those youngsters that we agreed on that we didn't think were going to be good enough, his name didn't get mentioned. So do you think maybe he can keep Pepe on his toes?
Just want to give a shout out to Noe as well before you take that, Hopes. Thanks for joining us again, Noe. Go ahead, Hopes.
Yeah, wicked, Noe. Good to have you in the chat, mate. So, reason why I didn't mention him was because every time I've seen him play, especially live at the Emirates, because he's come up through our ranks, Dan, he always covers the right back, whether he's been playing with Ainsley Maitland-Niles at right back or Bellerin, he can come back and do the job defensively as well as attack. However, I would keep him as nothing but a fringe player. I have no high hopes about him getting us into the Champions League and being a Sancho or anyone like that. Based on what I've currently seen, he's also got a good rep with Arteta, so Arteta could hopefully develop him and give him a chance here or there, like when the main players are unavailable. I would if out of Willock, Nketiah, Ainsley Maitland-Niles, I would like to keep Reece and Emile Smith-Rowe just for now, but I'm not. I do not put them. I don't hold them in high regards like I would, let's say, Saka and Martinelli. That's where I stand with Reece.
Okay, yeah.
All right, I think we'll bring the podcast to an end there. Noe, thanks for joining us right at the tail end here. Come back on Sunday. You've been with the podcast from the beginning, so great to see you around as well. Great to have great people on the panel as well. Tanner, the Bearded Gooner, Rohan, Hopes, Tony, and Stan. Thanks for joining me. As always, yeah, go ahead, Hopes.
How can you end the discussion without what we're going to do with Xhaka? Because that's another one, like with Aubameyang, what we're going to do about Xhaka.
We have to build the team around Xhaka, of course.
Oh.
To be continued.
No, he's getting bigger and better every week, so the podcast is growing. Great to see you again. Granit Xhaka, yeah, we got to leave that one.
To be continued.
Of course, we need to sell Xhaka. No, of course. Yeah, and we've got great midfield candidates in Partey, Doucouré, Cantwell, Grealish. Any one of those will do for me, But we could talk all night, but we all have to go and do things now, right? Right, Rohan?
Doc Cotton needs a fag.
Doc Cotton. Well, listen, to anyone who's watching live, it's been a pretty quiet night here on the podcast, but everyone watching on the playback, do stay safe. It's a different world we're living in right now, but we all have to look after each other. Take care of a neighbor, take care of somebody elderly, and tell the young ones as well to be careful. They think they're indestructible, and it's not always the case as well. Okay? That's it. Thanks for watching. Until Sunday, we will catch you next time. Come on, you Arsenal. Come on, the Gunners. We don't know when football's coming back, but boy, we want it back, right? Until next
Football's
time.
coming back. It's coming
It's
back.
coming back.